Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the Queers of Time podcast.
I'm Matt.
I'm James.
I'm Camille.
And I'm Kat.
And this is a podcast to talk about all the gay stuff in the Wheel of Time.
Because we're gay and we like the Wheel of Time. As always, a special shout out to Lurks as our field venerator of Serene. We really appreciate your support.
Good afternoon to all of you lovely citizens of Shadar Logoth. This is your King of Mashadar speaking, Matt, and today we are going to discuss something that a lot of you have been waiting for, and us included, and that is the origins of the Wheel of Time. So, sit back, let those tentacles slither into a comfortable position, and let the darkness enfold you as we listen to James talking about the origins of the Wheel of Time.
That was hilarious.
Okay, smooth operator. Okay.
I mean, I'm just scared at how that came up, but I also know we've talked about this before. It's okay. It's okay.
It's very good.
Anyway, yeah, so I picked up a copy of Origins of the Wheel of Time by Michael Livingston about a week early because Barnes & Noble put it on their shelves. You'll hear about that in another episode with Chad, the Queer and Taviran. Chatterbox, yes. But anyway, I had a week kind of ahead of everyone else to read it, and apparently none of my other hosts give a shit about the Wheel of Time.
That's not true.
So they're not going to read it?
No, I'm going to read it, but you told us that you wanted to surprise us, so I say, okay, no, I'm not going to be reading it until this episode.
My version is more fun.
Oh, you don't care. It's slander.
Slander. Okay.
I mean, let's be real. James's motto is gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. And we are seeing the gaslighting. We are seeing it happening in real time.
No, James absolutely asked all of us to refrain from looking at the Watt Origins channel in our Discord so that we could be taken by surprise when they give us these little tidbits.
100%.
Ah, yes, that's why that channel is muted.
I just love that. I love that you didn't remember.
I muted it, and I've been seeing that channel being like gray for like a week, and and just realized, oh yes, that's why.
Okay, so maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Maybe it's somewhere in the middle. It might. You know what? I retract my. No, I still think your motto is gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. Mostly because I just really like saying it, but also it maybe we don't care about Wheel of Time.
No,
maybe that's what it is.
I still haven't received my copy. I think it's only coming out on the 14th for the version I bought. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, your version does not come out in the UK for a bit for some reason, and I don't know why.
It's because the Wheel of Time is an American series, and it is a patriotic American series, and so the rest of the world can just wait for, whenever it comes out.
Anyway.
Absolutely.
So, James, what do you have in store for us? I'm excited.
What do I have in store? So the book, for those that don't necessarily, or for you guys that know nothing about it, it kind of divides itself into a couple of sections. The first section, or the first half, kind of talks about Robert Jordan himself. And kind of, it's not necessarily a biography, although it is, I mean, it's kind of close to a biography in some aspects, but it relates like his time in Vietnam, how he met Harriet, kind of all the stuff that led up to the Wheel of Time. And then it goes into, the Wheel of Time itself, what its origins are. LOL, that's the title of the book. And then there is a section at the end where there's a glossary that kind of like reveals some really cool information, which, honestly, if you don't read it closely, you're going to miss a lot of things because some stuff is just dropped in there like, oh, by the way, Nakomi is blank.
So who is Nakomi?
So are we going to answer that question today?
We will answer that question today, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good.
I'm 90% sure that James is going to give us, oh, that's this person. And I'm going to be like, who?
Who? Oops.
Okay, maybe. But no. So when I was reading this, I was really, really fascinated. I'm going to kind of go through it in the order This episode will go through the order of like what shows up in Origins.
Okay.
And it's going to be you guys reacting to it because you guys have nothing. You guys know nothing.
Yes.
Nothing at all, personally.
Yes, we know nothing. Yeah.
You guys are dumb.
I have no idea that Nakomi is actually Bella.
Oddly, Bella does come up
Oh.
in this episode, though not
I mean, of course she does.
She's a creator.
that horse, man.
Yeah, she's the creator. Of course she does.
So yes, the first chapter, which talks about the life of Robert Jordan, talks about how he was reading vicariously at a very young age, how he went to school and did very well without ever having to read, like without ever having to study, like gifted child, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But then he got to college and he was like, oh, I have to study. I don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Very relatable.
So I'm going to go into the army.
Listen.
I'm not naturally good at this. I quit.
I love it.
So he dropped out of school and joined the army. So like Tolkien, a lot of Robert Jordan is influenced by his time in war. There's a quote that he gives. I've certainly used some things from Vietnam. I know what it is like to have someone trying to kill me. Me in particular. Not some random guy. Me. I know what it is like to kill someone. I know how the first time feels and how that is different from the 5th or the 10th. These things certainly went into the characters I've written. That wasn't deliberate. Who you are is constructed in large part from what you have experienced and how you reacted to those experiences. Whatever you write is filtered through who you are, so the influence has to be there. So it's in the same way that like Tolkien took his time at the Somme and it influenced his writing because that's who he was.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was reading this and I got a very like Christopher Lee type of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Kat, you'll remember
Oh, yes.
that scene where Christopher Lee was being stabbed as Saruman, and he was like,
He's like, no, this is not how you...
no, that's not what it sounds like when you kill someone, Peter.
Yeah, he was schooling Peter Jackson on the accurate way to kill someone.
I thought you meant that this was like Christopher Lee vibes. Like, ooh, Christopher Lee should do the audiobook.
Hey, Matt, he's dead.
What?
It's Judy Garland all over again. God help us.
No, he's not.
No, Christopher Lee he's famously dead.
He's most certainly dead.
2015?
Oh, Jesus.
So this is Judy Garland all over again, but you're actually finding out.
Oh, it's Ian McKellen who's still alive. Okay, look, I can't tell these old white men apart.
It's Sir Ian McKellen.
I can't tell these old fuckers apart. Hell.
Excuse me, it's Dame Ian McKellen and Sir Judi Dench.
There you go.
Okay, so today I learned
If we're being real. Oh my God.
that I confused two old white guys for each other and have been...
Yeah, but they're like two good old white guys. It's not like you confuse like Bush and Biden or something.
Yeah.
True.
I wouldn't give a shit about that.
And one of them is gay and the other not.
Yeah, one's gay. So that's homophobic.
Well, then there's Patrick Stewart, but he's bald, so he's easy to tell apart from the others.
And Patrick Stewart is not gay, but
Patrick Stewart is not gay, though.
is probably.
Wait, was Christopher Lee gay?
No.
No, Ian McKellen.
Ian McKellen is gay.
Yes.
Very gay. Like, famously gay.
Yeah.
He could get it in the past, too. Just saying.
Listen, he was a very handsome man.
He can get it now.
He's so charming. He's so charismatic.
Anyway.
I swear to God, this episode.
Boy, oh 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 boy.
Oopsie.
Yep.
So there's a few more quotes from Vietnam. I know one of the things that I always really hated about Rand in the early books was his list of women that he killed that he has to be sad about every single time. However, this apparently has an origin from one of the times that Robert Jordan was in war where he had to kill a woman. He did not hesitate about it at all. And then that's like the one thing that kind of like stuck with him and kind of shook him was because apparently like this woman came out and pulled up an AK-47 and he shot her without thinking about it. And then he's like, you don't hurt women. Like he was raised in a very old-fashioned way. So that kind of like really, really stuck with him. So
That makes a lot of sense.
I thought it was a very,
It does. It makes complete sense.
yeah, it gives it some perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never been as mad about Rand's list as I think other fans have, because this doesn't surprise me at all. That's always kind of been the impression that I've gotten. Like, Jordan is writing from a very different time and perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we get it. You're clairvoyant.
I mean, are you surprised?
I mean, I think
No.
I think he's processing his trauma via Rand's.
Yeah. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Just totally valid.
Yeah. Yeah.
He does talk about another time in Vietnam when he was given a nickname, which is Ganesha, who is the Hindu god and the remover of obstacles.
Oh.
Also because I assume it's because he's a fairly, large person.
Mm-hmm.
And he was okay with that nickname. Another one he was given was the Iceman, which was reference to Eugene O'Neill's The Iceman Cometh.
Okay.
And for those that don't know, Iceman is Death.
Okay.
So his nickname was just Death.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I got the reference and I was like, okay, well, that's
But sad.
Yeah, I heard Iceman. I was like, oh, okay.
yikes.
Right. So I'm going to read another quote that I think it gives a little bit of insight into how Robert Jordan processed things. And we are not here to judge whether or not that was healthy.
Okay.
We are just going to listen.
Okay.
So in talking about the name, the Iceman, he says, I hated that name, but I couldn't shake it. And to tell you the truth, by that time, maybe it fit. I have, or used to have, a photo of a young man sitting on a log eating sea rations with a pair of chopsticks. There are 3 dead NVA laid out in a line just beside him. He didn't kill them. He didn't choose to sit there because of the bodies. It was just the most convenient place to sit. The bodies don't bother him. He doesn't care. They're just part of the landscape. The young man is glancing at the camera, and you know in one look that you aren't going to take this guy home to meet your parents. I strangled that SOB, drove a stake through his heart, and buried him face down under a crossroad outside Saigon before coming home, because I knew that guy wasn't made to survive in a civilian environment. I think he's gone. All of him. I hope so. I much prefer being remembered as Ganesha, the remover of obstacles.
Whoa.
Okay, so he's talking about himself.
Yeah.
Yes.
He did not actually strangle someone. Okay, so
Okay. Wow.
No, it's a part of him that he buried.
It's a metaphor, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Yeah. Wow.
Because it was something useful during a time of war, but in a civilian society, that's...
Yeah, he had to disassociate and become...
And become someone, yeah. Okay.
The fact that
Wow.
he was able to do that, and, I don't know if it's a disassociation. I don't know if it's, healthily moving through trauma. There's no, we are not people to talk about the validity of that.
Sure.
But at the same time, that is very impressive considering all of the other people that came out of Vietnam that were not able to do that.
That were not, yeah.
Or any time of war that aren't able to do that.
Yeah, I've read memoirs and histories of World War I and II, and it seems like a lot of people had to...
Yeah.
You either disassociated, found a way to process it, or you brought it home with you.
Yeah.
So it's...
Right.
It feels like it could be about any war with any person who, I don't want to say healthily processed it, but did so in a way that was at least processing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That worked for them and allowed them to live their life somewhat normally. Yeah. Quote unquote. That's really interesting. I'm getting a very different perspective of Robert Jordan now. This is interesting. Because it's hearing both of those quotes, I can see now the series is making suddenly even more sense to me,
right? Than
it did before, which is kind of crazy.
I very much I really like the first quote about how your experience shape what you write, and I like that Jordan was very much conscious of that, because that's something that is sometimes criticized about the book series, because it's, for example, this idea that he wanted to make a matriarchy / something where the patriarchy thing is a bit is different from our real world, but there's still a lot of internalized patriarchy in that, internalized, not misogyny because that's not the proper time, but there's the patriarchy of our own world is still reflected very much in the Wheel of Time. And so there's always been this discussion about whether he was conscious that he was in his writing still his experience reflect, and on some point he was very much conscious of that, because that's what writing is.
Yeah, I feel like, he never left Vietnam if he wrote the whole time. And you really never leave traumatic experiences. You either process them or you don't.
Yeah.
You just incorporate them into yourself in one way or another.
And I mean, even if you do process them, I don't think you actually you don't completely leave them. You just learn how to exist alongside them, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think there's something very interesting about using this like very traumatic experience to create something new, because in that situation you don't let those experiences own you. You kind of like make something out of them, which I mean
all the best writing does that.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing, there's a lot of good stuff on Vietnam here, but another thing is that he apparently shot down an RPG, which is a rocket-propelled grenade, while he was in a helicopter. So that's a very cool little tidbit.
Good for him.
Good for him.
Yeah. Moving on, there's then a section on Harriet McDougal, Rigney, if you are not familiar, is an extremely, extremely talented editor. She graduated in 1960, I believe, from Harvard-Radcliffe with a degree in English. She was an editor in New York City for a while. She became vice president of Ace Books, I think, or under Tom Doherty, I believe. I didn't make notes on this. This is just stuff I remember. And then, yeah, she was just really, really talented. She had to move back to Charleston, where she was raised, due to family stuff. And so it was there that she met Robert Jordan. She was shopping at a local bookstore, and then the bookstore manager said that there was a local man that came in and said he was writing a book. Harriet didn't have any business cards at the time, so she had just started her own imprint, Popham Press. Popham is her maiden name, I believe. So she wrote her information on an index card. Harriet recalls that at this time she was looking for, quote, a writer who could write bodice rippers, sexy historicals aimed at a female audience.
Ouch.
Fun fact.
Amazing.
When Jordan called her at her home, he said he was absolutely writing that.
Ouch.
Well,
I know where we are going, and I do not like that.
Well,
let's keep going down this road. I'm invested now.
He later said, if someone comes to you and says, there's an audition you ought to go to, I know you're right for the part. You'll get it. You will get it. No doubt. You can ride a horse, can't you? You say, oh, yes, I was born in the saddle. Oh, yes, I was. And then you go and learn to ride a horse. Mm-hmm. So he was like, yeah, no, I'm totally writing about this. He went to Harriet's house and he made up the synopsis for this bodice ripper on the drive there.
Oh, shit.
Wow. My man.
Harriet recognized that it was, quote, an awful idea. And then she says, all I remember was that the obligatory sex scene involved a duck.
What? How? In what way?
What?
Robert Jordan was a legend.
That's amazing. I love everything about that. That's great.
I do admire the man for like being, yeah, sure, I totally write that. And then figuring out the synopsis on the drive.
In the car ride over. Amazing. An icon, truly.
It's the audacity of a white man.
Yeah, go about the world with the confidence of a white man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%.
So at this point, however, because of her involvement with Tom Doherty, she knew that at this point Robert Jordan had written Warrior of the Altai. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that one correctly, but so she knew that he was somewhat talented. He was offered the contract for that book, and then it was rescinded. So that didn't get published right away. However, she basically then was like, okay, let me read it. He was like, no. And then he was like, okay, fine, here you go. So she read it, realized that he could write, just not bodice rippers. Mm-hmm. And then she was later talking about how there was no like good Civil War books in Charleston. So he wrote those books as Regan O'Neill, and then he got into Conan the Barbarian. So yeah, that was kind of that was his pre-Wheel of Time stuff. He does have one interesting quote on writing that I think you'll like, Matt. Drink a quart or two of strong coffee, write for 12 to 14 hours a day, and do this 7 days a week. Eventually the book will be finished or I am dead.
That's accurate.
One or the other. I love it.
Wow, I hope that wasn't his actual writing routine, because Jesus Christ.
No, so it was, actually. There's another quote that says, from Jordan that says, sometimes my wife will say to me, you're working too hard, go fishing. And sometimes I will. And sometimes she will say to me, I want you to see something on the front porch. And when I go downstairs, there's a fishing guide waiting, and she tells me to go away and fish.
Yeah, I don't think I will use Robert Jordan's writing schedule for my own purposes, because no.
Very understandable.
Not a good work-life balance.
And then something that a lot of people comment on is how the first 6 books were basically published in 4 years. He was writing at a very extreme speed, as evidenced by that quote of write for 12 to 14 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So he turned Lord of Chaos into Tor in August of 1994, which is 2 months before it hit shelves.
Oh my god.
Jeez.
What?
And then he went on a tour of 19 cities in 23 days. Tor pushed the deadline for A Crown of Swords back a year, and Jordan wrote that in 22 months. And it was printed weeks after he was done.
The poor editors.
That's okay. That makes a lot of sense regarding editing.
Okay.
He hand-delivered the book to Tom Doherty, and Tom Doherty recalled, I could see how tired he was. I felt kind of guilty because we'd all been pushing so hard to get it finished. I said to him, much as I hate to tell you this, you've got to slow down. You've got to take care of yourself. Which Jordan was very surprised by because publishers just don't say that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's why it slowed down. It wasn't that he lost the plot or anything. It's that he was basically killing himself to write these books.
Okay.
That's very fast.
But also it makes a lot of sense regarding, pacing and editing, because that means like A Crown of Sword, when you have only weeks from the time it's done to the time it's like published, how much of editing was done.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This is, so many things are coming together with this information.
And prior to this episode recording, Kat was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to get it.
Yeah, that is what I said. And you know what?
And I'm like, bitch.
I'm definitely going to get this now. I'm absolutely going to get this.
Oh, I planned on getting it.
It also talks a little bit about the last moments of his lucidity. Before he passed away, he had like a final burst where he was able to like lay out a whole bunch of stuff. Everyone was around him to take notes, and eventually he got like someone got a tape recorder and he just like started speaking. But yeah, so they now had how the story ended. They had some of the pieces. It was just like, putting it all together. That was a very like touching moment. There's also a bit in here about Harriet, which I've read this before, and it's very emotional. Like, I'm emotional reading it right now and thinking about it, but it's Harriet's, like, she wrote a testament about Jim, Jordan, and it's very touching and very sad, and I'm not going to read it for you guys.
Aww.
I will send it to you to read, okay. But it is very, it's very sweet.
Aww.
Sorry. I know that was mean to, like, tell you a little bit about that, but it was, yeah.
You're getting emotional. We're not saying.
Aww.
I am getting emotional. I had planned on reading it, but now I'm not. So.
Aww.
So then it talks a little bit about how Brandon came into the series. A friend showed Harriet Brandon's tribute to Jordan after he passed, which was also lovely. And Harriet was moved by it, and she recognized that he was an author by a Tor author. So she asked Tom Doherty to send her a copy of one of his books. He sent over Mistborn, and she got 50 pages in and then fell asleep. Not out of boredom. No, Kat, calm down. You guys are going to feel real bad in a second.
Okay.
I love Mistborn, but that's hilarious.
Oh, that's so funny.
He sent over Mistborn.
Yes.
And she read 50 pages in and fell asleep, quote, not out of boredom, but out of the sheer relief that she'd found a writer who could do justice to her husband's vision.
Oh, okay. That's very sweet.
That is sweet.
You guys are literally the worst.
But also funny.
What else are we supposed to think?
I know. I'm sorry. I paused it at a weird time.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very funny.
The next day, I think, or sometime after that, she called Brandon at home. He was asleep, so he missed the call. Her message was, Hello, Brandon Sanderson. This is Harriet McDougal Ridney. I am Robert Jordan's widow. I would like you to call me. There's something I want to talk to you about.
That doesn't scream scam at all.
Amazing.
Hello, Brandon Sanderson. This is Harriet McDougal. We have been trying to reach you about your extended warranty.
There are also some lovely bits about Brandon updating the series to be more modern.
Mm-hmm.
And how his goal was never to fix the Wheel of Time. It was more to give people the best ending possible. He did try and update things in ways he thought that Jordan would. How about there's like some limited same-sex relationships between women, but there's no men. So he wanted to add in gay men. I'll read a passage here. Similarly, Brandon felt that Jordan's idea of female privilege as the typical experience of life in Randland, a reversal of the male privilege that characterized Jordan's generation, was quite progressive for Jordan's time, but I thought in reality there should be less belligerence. So he kind of, yes, it was the matriarchy as opposed to the patriarchy was good for Jordan's time, but he did improve on it, or he wanted to change that a little bit.
So when you say less belligerence, does it mean less
belligerence? And I'm sorry, I didn't complete the quote. It was, but I thought in reality there should be less belligerence in how it manifested itself.
Okay. I see.
So it was a little,
I see.
It was a little like over the head, like smack people over the head with it, as opposed to being a little bit more subtle.
Okay. Interesting.
You mean spank people over the head?
There's then a section on Tolkien and Jordan.
Uh-huh.
I actually didn't read this until this morning because I forgot about it.
Okay.
None of it is super... I think this chapter really exists because so many people have made the comparisons. Like the New York Times quote about it, about how he's like begun to expand upon the world that Tolkien began to reveal or whatever, is on every single copy of the books, or a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it talked about how Tolkien created a world, and then how many of the other things that happened after it, like Shannara, Zelazny, I think, Nine Princes of Amber.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the popular stuff in like 70s and 80s and stuff kind of responded. There's a quote in here that says, popular though these works were in their time, they responded to what Tolkien had made, not how he had made it.
Right.
So that's often why Jordan is like compared to Tolkien, in the sense that he created a really, really in-depth thing from the bottom up. Okay, now we're going to get into the Wheel of Time portion of it.
We'll find out who Navani is, finally. Wait,
Navani?
Nakomi. Nope, Navani's...
Who the fuck is Navani?
Uh-oh, Stormlight? A little Stormlight poking through?
So blame Kevin. Kevin and I have been DMing about Stormlight, and he talked about Navani, and it's so similar to Nakomi that I said Navani by accident, so...
Excuses. You're just not a real fan.
Judy Garland's dead, by the way.
Okay, and?
Oh my god.
Yeah, who cares about Judy Garland? She's a talentless drunk.
James is gonna go pray to forgiveness after the episode's over, because I can just see them sweating.
There is a quote here. The first idea that came to me, the first thought, was, what is it really like to be the savior of mankind? What's it really like to be tapped on the shoulder and told you are the savior of mankind, and oh, by the way, we expect you to go mad and die in order to fulfill prophecy and save everybody. That was the genesis. And that was something that came into his mind in the mid-70s. Originally, like very, very, very early on, it was going to be some kind of Rand Tam combo. It was going to be a guy in his mid-30s who had run away from a village seeking adventure. He has adventures for 20 years and then comes back. And then he finds that like prophecy and stuff is like waiting for him, and it's not going to like let him outrun it. Obviously that changed. There are three main influences for the Wheel of Time, and these are referenced pretty much throughout the books. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, that is more in the story aspect of it, and the genre. And then Le Morte d'Arthur by Thomas Malory.
Okay, yeah.
So, King Arthur.
Big influence.
Yep. All over the place, yeah.
all over the place.
All over the place.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's
insane.
Yep.
And then the other one is The White Goddess by Robert Graves. I'm very familiar with Robert Graves. He wrote a lot about Greek myths. A lot of his stuff is kind of regarded as very outdated and misinformed, but he was like super passionate about myth. I wasn't actually familiar with this book. I was familiar with his book on Greek mythology. And Kat, you'll probably be very, very familiar with this, but he introduced the concept of the triple goddess.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I was trying to place it. I was like, I know there's a connection that I'm missing here. That's what it is. Okay.
And I actually did not know that.
Can someone explain for us, the in-culture person there?
Yes. So the triple goddess, so Michael Livingston in the book, he actually calls it a conspiracy story. The basic conspiracy story Graves told was that of the original prehistoric culture of Europe, was matriarchal and centered on the worship of a supreme moon goddess. The goddess was typically associated with the color white, and she appeared in one or all of three forms or phases: maiden, mother, or crone.
Oh, okay.
Male gods came and went, only she endured, but then this triple goddess, as Graves termed his invention, was wrongly and at times violently deposed by the worship of these male deities, which are associated with the sun. Matriarchy itself is lost, patriarchy reigned. So, I ordered a copy of that. I haven't gotten it yet, but it will be here soon and I will read it and devour it.
Yeah.
But it's a really, really, from everything that I've read about it, it's really, really interesting. So those were the three main influences.
The triple goddess is all over world mythology. It's everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He was just the first person to coin the phrase triple goddess.
Right. Looks like how Joseph Campbell was the first to sort of coalesce the idea of the hero's journey in the monomyth.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's not to say it didn't exist before, it's just...
Right.
So when you're saying the triple goddess is every time there's mother, maiden, and crown, or crown, matron, and scouting, or...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically the idea that the triple goddess is women can be represented as mother, maiden, and crone. So, or maiden when they're young, mother when they've done their reproducing, and crone when they are wise witches.
Yeah, yeah. And you can see, I think all of the...
It's very funny because, has any one of you read The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Arrow?
Mm-mm. I've heard of it, but I haven't read it.
If you like this Mother, Maiden, and Crown, it's centered on that. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Another thing that shows up here is there's an entire section on binaries in the wheel.
Interesting.
So Livingston essentially kind of addresses that the binaries make up the Wheel of Time. One paragraph here that I'm going to kind of read. Though Jordan ultimately intends for this binary concept to point toward an erasure of the patriarchy and a unification of men and women, some readers today might instead see the concept as exclusionary. It provides no clear representation for those who don't fit in these binary terms. It's important to acknowledge this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was really, really cool that it ended up in the final version of this book, for him to just address that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's an entire, there's several pages on this.
Okay.
Another quote in here is about how, even though this is a story about uplifting women and being more matriarchal, at the end of the day, the main character is still a guy. And he says, the savior of the Wheel of Time in this age was a man, for instance, but is it because Robert Jordan thought that men superior to women? There's no indication of this from his notes or from interviews with those who knew him. Instead, the savior was a man because it was more closely tied to the myths that his story was built from and needed to grow into as the wheel turned. A story about broken masculinity in need of correction.
Interesting.
So now I'm just thinking about the Wheel of Time as broken masculinity in need of correction, and I kind of love that.
Yeah.
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 I actually, this is giving me... Okay, I'm very excited to get this book now. I've had a gift card sitting around.
It's a broken masculinity. That's a deal breaker.
Yeah. That's what's doing it. I like it.
Another thing here is it goes into the yin-yang symbol, which obviously the Aes Sedai symbol is based on.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
So he became familiar with it in Vietnam because he was introduced to Eastern philosophy, where balance is thought of as an ideal. So, to quote Livingston, the original Aes Sedai symbol, in other words, is twice broken, at least if we are to judge it against the true yin-yang symbol. Not only has the unified circle been split into two distinct halves, but those two halves are wrongly presented as purified and independent forms rather than interdependent dynamic concepts.
Interesting.
And how that was very purposeful because Robert Jordan, as we all know, is not a dumbass.
No.
There's meaning behind everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm like, there's layers upon layers upon layers. But then you're going to get to, like, the etymology of some of these names, and you're going to be like, bitch, really?
Oh, I'm already anticipating there's going to be a lot of bitch, really? Bitch.
I feel like I'm going to read this book and then I'm going to write down all of the names and mythologies. I have no idea what the fuck it is. And I'm going to read about those to understand the Wheel of Time.
100%.
So a very early bit from, I guess this is just kind of a stream of consciousness thing about his notes, was talking about how they tapped into, the older Aes Sedai, or the Age of Legends Aes Sedai, tapped into like another world. And how that world had already been dying because of the uses of evil, and the knowledge that they obtained in those worlds would allow them to break into this world, and how an early version of Shaitan was named Sakan, who was one of the lords of that world. He was regarded as like the worst of all of the lords, so kind of like a Sauron figure.
Shy to see.
And the armies that followed him... became to be known as Forsaken, Men, Half Men, and Not Men, Twisted, With or Without Souls. And then there's a giant quote in here, or the giant line in here that says, "Get a good name for Sakan's lieutenants." Like, he's, like, actively, like, this is stream of consciousness. He's like, oh yeah, I need to do this.
Reminder. Please do that.
Yeah, exactly.
To do. It's when I write code and I put like a little to do.
A little thing to do.
Find a better name for this variable.
In another section, Jordan was talking about where the Wheel of Time kind of like falls into the genre. He says, how many traditional fantasy elements do we have? If so, under what conditions? And in what manifestations? Giants, elves, dwarves, trolls, ogres? No fucking unicorns, that's for damn sure. Dragons, beasts of mystery and magic, sentient animals, sentient plants, spirits, gods. But yeah, there's no fucking unicorns. That's for damn sure.
Indeed, that is correct. That is accurate. There are indeed no unicorns in Wheel of Time.
So the only way someone could say that the show is making Robert Jordan spin in his grave is if they add a unicorn.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I want them to do. I want that to happen now.
Yeah.
It's gay.
A little bit. Do it.
And then he actually had a page where he wrote down characters from King Arthur and then wrote down characters from the Wheel of Time.
Oh.
Merlin is Amerlin. Igraine is Tigraine. Arthur is Rhys Althor. So, funnily enough, one of the things that Livingston like goes on about in this episode, or in this book, is how he cannot figure out how Rand came to be Rand, because he was Rhys and then he was Rand, and there's like nothing. So there's some speculative things in there about like one of the ones is Mithrandir, like it came from Mithrandir.
Okay.
But there's nothing definitive about how Rand became Rand.
That's funny.
Because he's Randy.
Interesting. For the main character.
That is interesting.
Guinevere is Gwyn-Elvire. Morgana Le Fay is E-Morgaine. Margaz is Morgaze.
E-Morgaine, like e-commerce, but Morgaine, E-Morgaine.
E-Morgaine.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's also lines connecting Amerlin to E-Morgaine. So he was thinking of making Moraine and Moraine the Amerlin originally. So...
Oh.
I know the lines that stay between the Amerlin and Moraine is a different type of line.
It's very different, yes.
So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit in my notes because this is like very appropriate. But so essentially, Moraine had a lot to her character. She was going to become the Amerlin seat, but it was split off to create Suan Sanche, which is why there are so many similarities between the two. They're both raised with Blue Aja. They're both very powerful women. They're both on this quest. So really, like, they're two parts of the same whole.
Oh, they were always meant to be. They were soulmates.
Lesbians.
Oh my god, they're soulmates.
And they were soulmates.
And they were soulmates.
And they were soulmates.
Oh, yeah. The thing is that I knew that Swan came out from Moraine, but I never saw it that way.
But when you put it like that, it's like...
Yeah. Oh my god. I love that. I love them even more now.
Yeah.
I love them even harder now. Oh, God.
Two parts of the same world.
You broke the Sapphics, James.
I know, I'm like, this is going to be a promo and I'm going to subtitle it Sapphic Tears.
We could just name the episode We Broke the Sapphics.
Oh.
No.
There's also an outline for the Eye of the World that describes Winter Night, the Trolloc attack, and how Rhys's father was badly injured. Funny. This is very, like, not professional. Quote, with their horse dead, and then in parentheses, or did they have one? Poorer? Simpler? End quote. So, Bella originally died in this outline because with their horse dead, as they're escaping the farm. So Bella originally died. It wasn't Bella at this time. It was just their horse.
Oh my god.
So this horse has been through it.
Listen, Bella, she's been through it. She's been through some shit. She has seen some shit.
Oh god, we're getting up on a part that, Kat, you're going to have to mute yourself because you're going to have a lot of sounds. Anyway, later in that outline, it talks about how Tam and his wife had several children, but none of them survived.
Oh.
So that was a little bit sad.
Oh.
Is this canon or an earlier draft?
This is an early draft, but there's also no reason it couldn't be canon, so.
I was going to say, it would not surprise me.
Just make the Hets suffer more.
Like something else that's going to come up in a minute. Well, in like 10 minutes. So one of the characters from Le Morte d'Arthur yes, is Nynaeve, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's just Nyneve, and that was the Lady of the Lake. So if we're all familiar, that is the one that gives Excalibur the sword, blah, 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 King Arthur, blah. So, Kat, are you prepared?
Yes.
Okay. So...
Wait, I don't know now. Now I'm unsure.
I know where this is going.
Please continue. Question mark.
Jordan's earliest notes in Le Morte d'Arthur are a mere half-page long, but half of that is given over to a part of her story. So this is from Morte d'Arthur. Merlin's pursuit of Nynaeve and his teaching of her, finally wearying of his attempts on her maidenhead, she manages to trick him into the enchanted cavern, sealing him up and alive for all time. Nynaeve fell in love with Sir Peleus after cruelly exposing the cold woman whom he had futilely loved for some years. Jordan, like Graves, was clearly fascinated by this woman, and in some of his early thoughts about the Wheel of Time, he followed suit in giving her a darker role that's far more grim than which was in the final books. She would, he first thought, cause Lan to oppose Rand at some time, and she herself would be... Oh, I really don't want to read this.
Read it.
No, you got it now.
I savor the pain.
Okay. Quote, she herself would be raped by one of the Forsaken in the Eye of the World. Later, this makes her vulnerable to the Dark One's forces. She is killed, then later reappears, brought back from the dead. She claims she was not killed, or at least that some special abilities of a distant power wielder saved her. In fact, she has been brought back by the Dark One and is serving him.
What the fuck?
I knew this was happening.
Ouch!
What the fuck? Robert Jordan?
Kat's gonna find you. She gonna find you and...
What the fuck?
He's dead, that's fine.
Oh, she gonna find him still.
Listen.
She's gonna hold a seance 2 nights.
Okay, but honestly...
I was just gonna say.
Like...
I'm about to burn...
None of this happened.
So the rape thing is a big no-no, but like the idea that someone close to Rand die and then is brought by the Dark One is actually a very interesting idea.
I love that idea. I don't like how it got there. I don't like that.
Nor did we get Nynaeve's enchanted chamber.
So also, it goes on.
Oh, there's more. Good. Oh, good. Yeah, keep going. Please keep going. Go ahead. Yeah.
Moraine will ascend to the Amerlin seat. Nynaeve will at some point after Moraine takes the Amerlin seat seemingly slay Moraine or cause Moraine's death. This should involve something about a cave. In fact, Moraine will be trapped halfway between life and death. She will eventually be able to return to the world of men or be brought back. Whether this is an actual rebirth or whether she returns in some fashion other than as a living, breathing human is yet to be decided.
Lovely.
So Nynaeve
Kill Moraine. I knew that.
is killed and resurrected as an agent of the Dark One and kills Moraine, but then Moraine isn't dead?
I mean,
It's not really news, right?
it's no. Nynaeve, the idea of Nynaeve at least wanting to kill Moraine.
I mean, that's...
It's tracks.
No, but like, that stuff we already knew from the notes, right?
Yes.
Some of it, yes.
I did not know all of it. Some of it sounds familiar.
I knew Nynaeve was going to be raped by one of the Forsaken. I did not know about her coming back to life as an agent of the Dark One.
Yeah, that I didn't know. But so during Jordan Con of last year, I remember Michael Livingston reading the Nynaeve entry from the books.
Right.
So maybe there's also that is affecting how much I already knew about.
Okay.
I did not get to attend that panel, unfortunately, because I had something in mind, but I was sad about that, so... Also, I don't remember where this is in the book, but apparently gentling was originally a lobotomy performed with the One Power.
Ooh.
Oof.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that sounds true.
I mean, it's still pretty...
I mean, honestly, the gentling right now...
That's kind of... Is that not kind of what it...
I mean, yes, but it was straight up a lobotomy.
Yeah. Oh, like the how it's actually done, you mean?
Yeah, physical lobotomy.
Correct.
Ah, okay.
I'm sorry, but like the concept of a man being gentle and then like, or anyone losing the access to the power and then being depressed to the point of wanting to die will always remind me of fuck, I am a bad person.
That is true.
Are you talking about how, like, women were meant to, like, turn... No?
No, the Enigma guy from World War II.
The enema guy?
Enigma. The one who decoded Enigma.
Oh.
The Enigma. Oh.
Shit.
Okay.
Shit.
Okay.
Turing. Alan Turing.
Oh, Alan Turing.
Oh, okay.
Alan Turing, he got castrated. Like, chemical castration leading to suicide. This is always
Gotcha.
what gentling or stealing reminded me about.
Remind you of, yeah.
It's pretty reminiscent of lobotomies, too. I don't know how much
It is, yeah.
y'all know about lobotomies, but
Yeah.
God, some of the after...
Absolutely, like...
Gosh, I am so fucking dumbeth.
Oh, you're fine, Camille. Okay, to make you feel a little bit better,
Yeah.
would you like me to read you a sex scene?
No.
No.
But it's actually hotter than anything in the books.
Is it? Okay, do it.
Is it between Matt and Galad?
Who's in it?
So, in a very early version of The Eye of the World...
Not Ozzy doesn't say that.
They don't answer the question.
Yeah, they did not. They
What?
very specifically dodged that question.
I'm literally getting to it right now. It is not Matt and Galad.
Okay, go ahead.
So in a very early version of The Eye of the World, when they reach Barrelon, Min drags Rand to a storage shed in the stable yard and seduces him.
Oh my.
So I'm about to read to you.
Okay.
He's like, wait a second.
I just want to say, this is fucked up that this was a plan in The Eye of the World, and when Rand finally have sex with Min in many, many books later, like Min is a virgin.
Right?
Yeah.
Why?
You're going to be very upset at the end of this.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Why? Because it is a good sin or a bad sin?
Oh no, it's so I'm not going to read all of it because it is actually like 4 pages long.
That's a long ass sex scene. What the fuck?
It is. And it's good.
What did they do?
I've read it several times and I'm like, this is better than... Okay, So it's not actually sex.
Okay, I see. Okay.
It's the after sex conversation that takes up most of it, and that's what's going to piss Camille off. So,
Okay.
all right. So for our readers, we're going to have to cut this next section just because I'm going to read it basically verbatim. So you're going to have to read this in Origins of the Wheel of Time, which it's page 96 to page 99. So...
Wait, so they're just going to hear our after reactions to this?
Correct.
Okay.
I think this would violate copyright.
Yes, that makes sense. Okay.
2 hours later.
Yeah, I've lost the will to live.
Okay, so many thoughts.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
There's a lot of... It's...
Oh, that broke me.
I did see you break, Matt. I saw... Yes.
I'm not calling that a sex scene. It's a fade to black.
It is, yes. It's not a sex scene.
It is a fade to black. I apologize. It is not...
Yes, it is not a sex scene. I was waiting for the...
It was more graphic in parts than all of the Wheel of Time was.
That is true.
Yeah, that is true.
But it was okay.
It's fine.
Yeah, like, honestly, Rand, the whole thing about marrying is a conversation. He has a very similar conversation with Elaine.
He does, yes.
In The Stone of Tear. So,
He does.
And I had to reread that like a week ago, so still very fresh. And I love our Min answer, and it's the most southern thing ever.
My favorite part is when he's like, no, but I have to marry you. And Min's like, LOL, what? No.
Yeah.
We just fucked for fun. Like,
yeah.
So one thing I did not understand, is he suggesting that it was Min's first time or not? Because Ren is like, oh, but
I don't believe it was Min's first time in this.
Okay.
Yes.
I read it as Min is a very powerful woman that just fucks because she wants to feel good. And honestly,
Good for her.
this version of Min,
Good for her.
infinitely better than what we got.
Honestly, yeah.
I like this version of Min. Yeah, I like her.
There's honestly like no fucking sense that she's a virgin when she
it makes no sense.
First have sex with Rand. It makes absolutely no sense.
My favorite part is when Rand is like, but you cried out when I fucked your pussy real hard.
Oh my god, James.
I mean, that's basically what he said.
Yeah.
He's like, you cried out when I hit that spot.
Yeah. And
So, Matt, thoughts, feelings?
We ain't doing all this. No.
Okay, so
I kind of love that this is something that exists and was supposed to be around the eye of the world, like when they first leave the Two River, because there has been so many critics about the TV show and them having sex and this kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, in the original version of the books, Rand fucks as soon as he's out of the Two River. So, I mean, who cares?
Yeah, 100%.
right? Yeah, it's not as Puritan as the final product.
Yeah, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But God, at what cost?
Matt.
Before we get to the glossary entries, there's also a couple of interesting bits. So Jordan's original concept was that Rand's first ally, after he accepted the fact that he was the Dragon Reborn, would be Morghese, who becomes his lover. This makes Galad his bitter opponent and sends Galad over to Shaitan.
Oh.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
You know what? Though? I kind of love that, actually. I know you don't like it, Matt.
So Cat's no longer my favorite.
There was theories. So is Galad a channeler or not?
We're getting there. Also, fun fact.
Okay.
It wasn't until after The Great Hunt was published that Jordan had a full list of the names of the Forsaken.
Oh.
That's...
Okay.
Really? That's one of the most surprising news of the book.
That is genuinely surprising.
Even after completing The Great Hunt and preparing to work on the third book in the series, Jordan clearly hadn't settled on the names of the Forsaken. As he had them, the list was this. 1. Ishmael. 2. Lanfear. 3. Agenor, dead. 4. Balthamel, dead. 5. Death. The name is DE''ATH.
Wow.
Even better than Mordes.
That's amazing. That's so good.
Number 6, Moloch, one of the most vicious. Number 7,
Okay.
B. Aldred. Number 8, Maladour. Number 9, Maleficent.
Okay, Maleficent.
10, Shawrain. 11, Savintar. 12, Samael. 13, Robin.
Oh.
So he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them.
Okay.
Samael and Raven.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
I recognize some of those as connected with biblical imagery, like Malak.
Yes.
Yes.
Moloch. I was like, oh, okay, so he was going biblical here at first. Interesting.
There's an entire section here on Tamandrid as well. Yes, Tamandrid was a thing, blah, blah, blah. But now we're going to get into... Let me find it. Yes, we're going to get into the glossary. I know this is a very long episode, and this is where all of the fun reactions are going to come. So are you guys ready?
Yep.
Adam. This is one of the very few where I'm going to read the full entry.
Okay.
Adam. The word for the Terang that was used among the Shan-Chan to control a channeler, originally made up from a silver bracelet on the controller, Soldam, and the collar on the one controlled, Damane, appears to be derived not from the word Adam, but from the phrase a dom, which refers to the dominant woman within certain BDSM relationships.
No.
We knew it!
He's taking the piss, isn't he? Michael Livingston is... he can't be serious.
Similarly, the word soul dom is meant to echo both the phrase soul dom, that is, a single dominant, and the word sultan, meaning rulership.
Oh.
Okay,
there's a lot more to it, but that's basically it, is a dom comes from a dom.
A dom.
So Robert Jordan was much hornier than we ever realized.
So much hornier than we knew.
I realized that...
We've said on this podcast that this is the horniest, most Puritan book series ever.
Yes.
Yeah. Simultaneously horny and puritanical. It's wild.
We had a big discussion about that when Brie came on the podcast.
We did. This is true.
The Aes Sedai, as many people know, is a reference to the Aes Sedai, the fairies from the otherworld in Irish mythology.
Oh, yes. Okay.
A fun fact here is that the Aes Sedai are most likely to, and I'm butchering that pronunciation because Gaelic is fucked. I cannot with Gaelic.
Yeah.
But they are most likely to appear and cause mischief around Beltane, which was Beltane, and that's also when Moraine shows up at Beltane.
Oh, okay.
This is one of the fun ones.
He comes up with so much of these intricate concepts and layers upon layers of stuff, and then it's like,
a dom.
A dom.
Or the Aiel tribes. Do you want to know the origin of the Gen Aiel?
Oh no.
Some woman named Jennifer that he went to high school with?
Nope.
What is it?
A Gen Air stove that Jordan had in his kitchen.
I like that one. That's good. That's good. I like that.
Honestly, that's how authors do it. I mean, that's how I've done things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Just look around your kitchen and like, okay.
Alviren Frieden. Her surname comes from the German Frieden, meaning peace, which is apparently frequently used in German propaganda as the end goal of Hitler's Nazi regime.
Yes, I know.
So 10 out of 10.
Perfect.
Amazing.
No notes.
Amaterasu, the female champion of the light, the counterpart of the dragon, based on Amaterasu Omakami, the sun goddess in Japanese mythology.
Yep.
That had been very long, it's been said in other ways and kind of confirmed, but it's good to know that she is the female champion of the light and the counterpart of the dragon, and that she has her own story that just isn't told. Amerlin.
Merlin.
Tamerlin. Yes, it is Merlin. Tamerlane comes from a shortened version of the Amerlin.
Sure.
But it's also a title.
Okay.
So it's implied in the entry for Amerlin that Tamerlane is actually the name of the first person that learned to channel the one power.
Oh.
However, in the entry for Tamerlane, it's implied that Tamerlane is actually a combination of the Amerlin, also a Merlin. So.
Oh. Okay.
I still am unsure. That's going to be one of my questions at JordanCon when I interview Michael Livingston. I'm going to be like, clarify Tamerlane. Erengar comes from Ananga Ranga, which is the title of a book written in India in the 15th or 16th century. And it is a sex manual focused on the need for people to attend the sexual pleasures of their partners in order to achieve harmony in their relationships.
Oh.
Haringa.
Balthamel.
Weird. Okay, yeah.
So you have layers and layers and stuff.
Layers of horniness.
Baal Doman. Doman? He's fat. Doman.
Wow. That is
Okay.
Elsa Grinwell. Elsa Grinwell. Elsa grins well.
Yes, I've heard about that one.
Oh my god. Come on.
This one is hilarious. I love that one.
Come on.
This made Ali and Gus on Will Takes so happy because they love Elsa Gunwell.
Yes, yeah. It doesn't surprise me.
Galad. So Galad, interestingly, is a Galahad/Mordred figure. Which is really interesting because Galahad is basically like the perfect knight, like...
Yes.
Perfect. And Mordred is an agent of chaos. Originally, Galad was the son of Lan and Morgase.
Yes.
What?
That's...
What?
Also, Matt, elsewhere in his notes, Jordan indicates that Galad is himself a wielder of the One Power, even if he does not yet realize it at the end of the series.
Nice. I love it. Called it.
Oh my god.
So, I'm sorry, that's canon. Galad is a channeler.
He's a channeler. I love that for him.
That is amazing. I love it.
The 100 companions originate from the 100-handed ones in Greek mythology.
Okay. Yep.
Jane Farstrider's Knoll. Guess.
Jane Farstrider.
I don't know.
Knoll? Know all.
Oh my god.
What?
Oh my god. Know all. It's just know all.
Okay.
Knows it all. It's just know all.
Ah, no.
Yeah.
K-N-O-W.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh boy. Okay.
Lanfear.
Yeah.
Camille, how do you say hell in French?
Enfer. Yes, I know that one. It's l'enfer.
It's l'enfer basically combined with the English word for fear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Machin Shin. Machine of Sin.
Okay.
Matt's surname was originally Pickett, which was from Piquet.
I don't like that.
Piquet.
Pickett.
An early 16th century card game to Cawthon, which was echoing Cotton Mather, who, if you guys are not familiar, is a Puritan minister who was involved in the witch hunts in Salem.
Okay.
Similarly, Matt hates Aes Sedai.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I like that one. That's yes.
Moghedien. This one's, I think, my favorite of all of them because this bitch saw a commercial and said, that works. Moghedien is from Mogadon, which is the brand name for a hypnotic drug used to treat insomnia.
That fit.
He said, this may cause a whole bunch of other things, but it's going to be the name.
It's going to be the name. That's very good.
I had the entry on here about Moraine, about how she came from, or Suan came from her. It also recalls the Morai, which are the fates in Greek mythology. More death.
More death.
It is literally more death.
More death, yes.
Yes.
Murdral, murder all.
Yeah. Matt is getting annoyed.
Nakomi.
Okay, Nakomi.
Here we go.
No, let's skip Nakomi for the end.
Oh, you bitch.
Fuck you.
I already know who Nakomi is. Good lord, just say it.
So Nynaeve, in the early notes, only Rand had as many notes written about them so early. Nynaeve, it was Nynaeve and Rand pretty much that had the most notes written so early.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, her last name changed. I didn't write down what it originally was, but it became Almira. Mir means lake, so Nynaeve of the lake. So we're going full circle.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's fun. Ogier. Quote from Robert Jordan. A mountain people, moderately short and very stocky, with big noses, men and women alike. Men wear full beards and very long hair. Quarrymen and stonemasons, most are.
So, dwarf.
Practice ritual cannibalism in the fashion of the Maori.
Oh. That went places I wasn't expecting.
Why? Whoa.
Okay. I like that we were all like, at first, like for the first sprint, a little bit, we're like, okay, yeah, dwarves. Okay, so dwarves. So
yeah, they were Tolkien's dwarves.
Cannibalism.
Practice ritual cannibalism.
Cool. Fun.
Okay.
Other people look on them with a measure of horror for this. Just a measure. Just a little bit.
Okay, so that carried over to people still looking on them with interesting. Huh. Okay.
So when did they got taller?
Yeah.
So 1987, we don't have notes for like when he originally wrote that they're cannibals, but by 1987, he had changed it to now they were a cross between Tolkien's dwarves and Ents. So they were still a mountain people, but at this point they were, quote, very tall and very stockily built, men and women alike. Men wear full beards and hair very long, very flat of face, considered ugly by most who knew them, excellent stoneworkers. Goats are tended for by children. Men speak of forest and trees as if they were a flock of animals. So yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Suan, her name comes from swans, obviously, which made frequent appearances in graves as the White Goddess, and Jordan noted that they were, quote, sacred birds. Tar-Valon, nothing super special here, but in the Old Tongue, Tar means tower and Valon means guard. In Sindarin, Minas Tirith is translated as Tower of Guard. So
that's cool.
Minas Tirith and Tar-Valon parallels.
Oh, I like that. That's cool.
Tavirin, the veering.
Okay.
So, what?
The veering,
Okay.
like you veer off path.
Yeah. Because you're forced to veer off your path for the pattern.
Okay.
So this one, I still don't like Tom. However, Tom was influenced by Merlin being like a storyteller.
Sure.
His last name is Marilyn. The union of Tom and Moraine at the end of the series represents the male and female halves of Merlin coming together.
Well,
okay.
I don't buy it.
I prefer Moraine and Swan being the same person and coming together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then Moraine should have just eaten Tom.
The very last bit. Nakomi was originally a mysterious character that would appear to Rand as he left Shale Ghul. Jordan wrote, an unknown woman says to Rand, yes, that's good. That's what you need to do. She hurries off. That's all he wrote about Nakomi.
Okay.
Brandon took this and created Nakomi, who he describes as, quote, the creator's version of Shaidar Haran, not actually the creator, something else, something close to the creator, and inhabited in part by something of the creator. As many have guessed, her birth is Gen Aiel. Yes, they're still around, a few of them, and providing the vessel who was the counterpart to Shaidar Haran was part of their purpose, lore, and identity. Nakomi is the latest in this line.
Oh.
It's really cool.
I like it.
Okay.
I like that it's a Brandon thing.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And I like that it's the counterpart from Shadaran.
It does sound a little weird that they were basically like bred to be... Not bred. They weren't bred. They had lives.
Yeah.
But that's a very common thing in mythology is like... Or of like...
Yes.
It's kind of what Avatar does. Avatar the Last Airbender.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It feels a bit like that.
So yeah.
Huh. Okay. Now we know about Nakomi. There we go.
It was, I understand why people would say it is a little underwhelming just because it's like, yeah, we basically got that. We knew. We've been done known.
Yeah.
But like, it's always like that with, it's a minor character that most casual reader would not remember and probably would not care about trying to figure out who she is.
Right.
Yeah.
But for, very hardcore reader, hardcore nerd, it's a
thing.
It's the simple solution was a real solution, but people want to be more complicated sometimes.
So I know this was a very long episode, but what were your favorite parts of the book that you learned from me today? Or your least favorite?
I liked learning about his history and the lore and the processing. Of that, because it's as someone who writes and wants to be a published writer, a well-known published writer, that I can live off of that. It's interesting to see where he came from and how horny it is.
I'm sorry, but Adam is probably... I mean, I know I said Moghedian was my favorite, but Adam is also like... I didn't see that coming at all.
Honestly, that's iconic. I love that.
It's one of those things where it's like staring... It's just right there out in the open.
It's
and
right
you just,
there. Yeah.
It's invisible because it's so out there.
Yeah. I never would have put that together, honestly. I never... Because it's just too... It's just
right there.
It's just right there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, overall, I'm mostly super excited to see the book because there's a lot of mythologies that I'm like, I know a little bit of Arthur mythology, but it's very basic. I probably don't know a lot about like the White Goddess and this kind of thing. So I'm kind of excited to get to read it and dive a little bit more into those figures. And yeah. My favorite is always going to be like, I knew that Swan came from like, was a separation of Moraine's role, but the way you frame it with they're two of the same being, I love that.
Yeah.
And she's aptly named because swans are small but very aggressive. They will fuck you up.
Very. Oh, they will.
Oh, yes.
They will fuck you right up, for sure.
Hateful dinosaurs.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I was expecting to like the Wheel of Time stuff more, or be more interested in that stuff. I really liked the stuff specifically on Robert Jordan's life, though.
I agree.
I'm really excited to read more about that. I found it absolutely fascinating. The Triple Goddess stuff was also really cool. One thing, so I know Camille already mentioned this, but the stuff about Moraine and Swan, to me, coming from like a very biblical background, the story of Adam and Eve, the way that Eve was created, was she was taken as like from Adam. So like a rib out of Adam and was formed and whatnot.
Girl, we're familiar.
I know.
That's basic.
I'm just saying, there might be people who don't know. Listen, I'm not making an assumption here.
Okay, reader, if you don't know that, you dumb.
You mean listener?
I'm just saying.
Listener.
But just like, like it just struck me as very biblical.
Yeah.
And,
soulmates.
I'm excited to read this book.
And they were soulmates.
Soulmates. And they were soulmates.
They're two parts of the same being.
The same. Oh my God.
Sapphic crying.
Anyway.
Maybe that's the title of...
So does that mean when they're having sex, it's masturbation?
I mean...
Oh my God, the eye roll from Camille. They said, God damn it.
One thing that I want to mention, so I do appreciate that Michael Livingston mentions the binary of it all.
It's a really good section.
I'm excited to read that. I think you sent us some screenshot of it.
I did.
A few days ago, but like I really appreciate that this was mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like a cishet white male that was like, hey, look, it could be better. It's important that we talk about this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Queers of Time podcast. If you liked our show, please give us a review on Apple Podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Well, Twitter, if it's still live by the time this episode came out. We don't know yet. And you can also join our Discord server. This one is still going to be alive.
Yes.
If you're able, we'd love to have your support through Patreon. We got a lot of nice benefits there, and this helps us cover the cost of producing the podcast, so thank you very much.
Thank you guys. I hope it was a fun episode.
Thank you all for listening. This was Queers of Time, a Wheel of Time podcast. The music is Dance of the Witches by Julius H.